The earth rumbles not with the charge of beasts, but with the footsteps of giants. Imagine a world where fragile bands of early humans, small, cautious, barely armed, shared the land, with towering figures of flesh and bone creatures that were not animals but akin. Giants of the ancient world, broad-shouldered and immense, loomed like living mountains across the plains. What chance did a group of hunters no taller than a child's reach have when faced with those whose shadows swallowed the firelight? The question of survival against strength, greater than any predator, is the question that shaped humanity itself. The scene opens on a clearing at dawn. Mist curls across the grasses, clinging to the legs of a small band of humans huddled near the embers of their fire. They are lean, hungry, their faces carved by struggle. Suddenly, the mist parts. A colossal silhouette emerges, towering, wide-chested, moving with a deliberate weight that shakes the earth. It is no beast of fang and claw, but a giant ape-like figure. Gigantopithecus, a creature standing 3 times their height, its arms heavy as tree trunks. Its presence is enough to scatter birds from the trees and freeze the breath in human throats. The group does not attack. They cannot. They crouch, low bodies pressed to the ground, hearts hammering. The giant moves closer, tearing branches from trees, chewing bark and leaves, as though the forest itself bows to feed it. But when its small eyes glance downward toward the hidden humans, the balance of power is clear. One roar, one swing, and their fragile bones would be broken like twigs. Survival means stillness, silence, humility before the giant. Later, when the sun dips low, another danger appears, not a solitary figure, but a band. Across the plains stride towering hominins, stronger, heavier, wielding clubs of stone and wood. They are not predators in the animal sense, but competitors, rivals who fight for the same roots, the same fruit, the same caves for shelter. The smaller humans watch from the ridge as the giants overturn stones and strip a tree, bare, claiming it with force alone. When 2 members of the smaller group try to approach a giant, roars, lifts a boulder, and hurls it toward them. The message is simple: strength rules, and weakness has no place. Night falls. The humans light their fire again, the fragile circle of flames keeping the dark at bay. But in the flickering glow, shadows stir. Far beyond the fire's reach, a figure stands tall, silent, watching. A giant human shape, massive shoulders, long arms, a skull broad as a drum waits in the dark like a spirit of dominance. The smaller band tightens its circle, clutching stones and sticks, their fire crackling defiantly. The giant does not enter the light, but its presence presses upon them a reminder that survival is not only about resisting beasts, but about enduring against their own kind, magnified into legends. The spark of survival is not found in muscle. It is born in fire, in tools, in unity. While the giants dominated with sheer force, the smaller ones endured with cunning. And in this ancient contest, the first threads of humanity's destiny were woven threads fragile yet unbreakable, spun not from power, but from will. The morning after the long night of fear, the smaller band of humans moves carefully across the savannah, every step calculated, every glance measuring the emptiness of the horizon. But the silence of the land hides a looming danger. Ahead in the valley, smoke rises not from their own fire, but from another. The giants are there. Broad forms bend over the remains of a hunt, tearing into the carcass of a giant deer with their bare hands. Their voices are deep guttural sounds rumbling like thunder. The smaller humans crouch low in the tall grass, watching, torn between hunger and terror. The carcass is food enough to feed them for days, but to approach is to invite death. The camera lingers on the faces of the small group, sunken eyes, hollow cheeks, stomachs twisting in need. They whisper nothing but their bodies speak. A child clings to his mother's arm, too weak to move. The leader, wiry and scarred, looks to the others, then to the crude tools they carry, stones sharpened against rock branches, hardened by fire. Against giants, they are nothing more than illusions of power. Yet desperation is heavier than fear. As dusk approaches, the smaller band creeps closer, shadows masking their movements. They wait for the giants to retreat, but one remains behind, standing like a sentinel beside the kill. His frame is massive muscles coiled a club of stone, resting casually in his grip. The humans freeze. To turn back is to starve. To advance is to gamble everything. Tension builds as the leader signals, hand trembling, for one of the hunters to circle wide. A stone arcs through the air, striking a distant boulder with a sharp crack. The giant's head jerks, eyes narrowing, body tensing. In that breathless instant, two of the smaller humans rush forward, clawing at the carcass, ripping free scraps of flesh and bone. The giant roars a sound that seems to shake the earth itself and charges. The hunters scatter, clutching their stolen fragments. The chase begins. The camera shifts feet, pounding against the dirt lungs, burning the giant's shadow, falling long behind them. One stumbles, falling hard, the meat slipping from his hands. The giant looms overhead, raising his club. Time slows the moment, caught in the space between life and death. And then, a spark of cunning. Another human hurls a burning branch, the flames whipping through the twilight air. It strikes the giant's arm. He recoils, bellowing in pain, swinging wildly. The smaller group seizes the moment, dragging their fallen companion away, retreating into the darkness where firelight flickers, and the giants dare not follow. Breathless, they collapse around their own fire, clutching their prize, meager scraps of meat, but enough to live another day. The giants rule with power, but the smaller ones endure with cleverness, their fire once again proving the weapon of the weak against the strong. Yet the night offers no peace. In dreams they see the towering shapes, hear the thunder of footsteps, feel the ground trembling beneath the weight of a world not made for them. And still they rise. For survival is not a choice. It is a command written into their very bones. The savanna awakens in crimson light, the horizon aflame with dawn. The small band emerges from their hollow shelter, weary but alive. Their stolen meat already dwindling. Hunger remains their constant shadow. Yet as they move forward, the land east delivers a new challenge. Not beasts, not hunger, but the giants themselves. Across the plains, the towering forms march in groups, their silhouettes etched against the rising sun. They are more than individuals now. They are tribes bound by strength, claiming rivers, forests, and caves as their own. For the smaller humans, each step into this land is trespass. The band moves toward a river. Water glitters, life flowing between reeds, but on the far bank, they see them, the giants, again. One of the massive figures kneels, scooping water in his cupped hands, while another hurls stones at fish, pulling them to shore with ease. Their presence radiates dominance. The smaller group hesitates. Thirst presses on them, yet to cross is to expose themselves. Their leader crouches, low, eyes scanning the ground. Nearby reeds shift with the breeze. The plan forms not through words, but through instinct. They will slip low, drink in silence, and vanish before the giants notice. The tension hangs like a blade. Crawling through the reeds, the smaller humans dip their hands into the water, sipping greedily, eyes fixed on the shadows beyond. But one misstep shatters the silence. A branch cracks. A child gasps. The nearest giant turns water dripping from his chin eyes, narrowing at the movement. He rises to his full height, a tower of flesh and bone. The smaller humans freeze their fire-forged tools, trembling in their grips. Then comes the moment of revelation. The giant does not attack. He stares, shoulders broad, breath heavy. For a heartbeat, there is recognition, kinship, indifference. They are not prey nor equal, but something in between. With a guttural sound, the giant turns back, scooping another fish, ignoring the trembling figures across the bank. Relief floods them. For the first time, survival is not carved by conflict, but by mercy, or perhaps indifference. As the sun arcs higher, the smaller group retreats into the trees, carrying with them more than food or water. They carry the memory of the encounter. Strength can dominate, but it cannot erase cunning, unity, and fire. And as centuries roll into millennia, the roles will shift. The giants will fade, their power swallowed by time, while the fragile ones, the ones who endured by thought instead of muscle, will rise. The story of the giants of the ancient world is not a tale of defeat, but of balance. They were rulers of flesh and bone shadows that haunted the first fire's figures, that inspired awe and fear. But from that crucible of struggle, humanity emerged not the tallest, not the strongest, but the most unyielding. And though the giants are gone, their echoes remain in our myths, in our legends. In the question that still lingers, how did the smallest endure, where the mighty could not? The answer lies in the fire, in the spark that burned against the dark. Humanity's greatest weapon was never its body. It was its will. And in a world of giants, that will was the only path to survival.